Hello, Sumo fans.
Hello.
I'm John. I'm joined by Maria.
Nice to meet you.
We are here to talk about the July 2020 tournament that has recently concluded. First and foremost, congratulations to Terunofuji.
An amazing story. Very exciting for the sumo world. Very exciting for him, personally.
Yeah. Long way down and a long way back up. This is probably the best case scenario for coming back.
Yeah, I thought when Tokushoryu did his amazing things, that was going to be the end of the Cinderella stories, but there are more to come. Apparently.
Cinderella story part 2. Very, very exciting. And just goes to show that this new surge and the newer talent, well, for Terunofuji's not a newer talent, but just the upper, as the upper crust sort of gets injured and falls away, that there's going to be a new guard to replace, which is always comforting. Just going to go top to bottom through the Banzuke. We get to talk about everybody. We're going to mostly be focusing on Mikuchi. We may get into Juryo, may not. We'll see what happens. I'm going to start with, as almost every sumo conversation should, Hakuho.
The GOAT.
The best ever, who up until day 11 looked nigh untouchable, and it looked like everything going on in the world just rolled right off his back. But then he dropped one to Daisho.
Daisho's tough. I mean, I'm sure Hakuho was probably struggling with some injuries or something. I mean, he's going to be perpetually injured for the rest of his career. That's just what it is. But Daisho is a tough opponent. He always has been. Even when he's been flying under the radar, he's the guy who can catch you off guard. And that's what he did. And, you know, that probably affected Hakuho, at least mentally, when he went into the next loss.
Yeah, and then just fell out of it, turned 2 losses into a unrecoverable injury. I, of course, hope him a speedy recovery.
Yes, hope he can hang on.
It'll be a shorter period of time between now and the next Basho, which is going to be mid-September.
Yep, I believe it's September 13th is when the start is.
Yeah, around there.
It's really hard to say what's going to happen with Hakuho. It really is. He was so dominant. It wasn't like previous tournaments where you saw he was kind of shaky. Like, oh, he's off balance. He's doing one of his weird twists. He was so dominant until the Daisho loss. I do believe he probably had a fresh or like more intense injury with the Mitakeyumi thing. Because when he fell, you could see sort of the redness on that elbow, and you could tell, like, something's not right. He's a little slow. So I don't know if this is a new thing he's going to have to fight with not as much time to recover, or, you know, he just decided, I got to do what I got to do to stay in until the Olympics next year, which is his, goal that he's said in the media. Yeah,
it's entirely possible that he would be sitting out the September Basho as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think he wanted that back-to-back show, and when he didn't get that, he may just take September off and regroup for November, because he's done that a little bit in the past, but that's speculation.
Yes.
For unfortunate news, we're going to go to the West Yokozuna with Kakuryu, who is going to have a highlight reel that will follow him until his dying breath, which is really sad. Pretty sure he doesn't want people to be clamoring for him to retire any more than he has now, and this is not going to help his case. I can't help but feel this is simply a tragic Looney Tunes style accident gone wrong.
Yeah, and I'm sure, even with somebody as seasoned as he is, the craziness of our world, the lack of training, even the uncertainty of whether these tournaments were even going to happen for the rest of the year, you can't downplay the mental element, even if you're a Yokozuna. So, I mean, he could have had a mental lapse, which then led to an injury. He could have been fighting both. Either way, he's steadily marching his way out. Mm-hmm. The question is, will it be before Hakuho or after?
That's the question. It also goes to show that the X factor in this tournament, I mean, there's like 30 X factors because of the state of the world at this moment, but the lack of training up until this seems to have affected some more than others.
Yes.
And there were a couple of people who had some strains errors or just sort of a little loose, particularly the first 5 days or so. A lot of people are sort of getting the ring rust off. So I can't help but wonder if he didn't fall on his elbow like that with this. Could he have at least gotten 10 wins? We will never know.
No.
So Yokozuna's injured out. Unfortunate. We just hope they stick around long enough so that somebody else can get that white belt.
Well, in previous conversations that you and I have had, we've discussed how effectively it's as if there hasn't been a Yokozuna in a long time. You had the Kiseno Sato, like, is he coming back? Is he coming back? Then he comes back, and it's nothing like what anybody wanted. Hakuho's been in, but, sometimes he's dominant, sometimes he's lucky. He's got that sumo sense that keeps him afloat. In Kakaryu, he's just been, great tournament, then several tournaments after that, he just falls apart, and next thing you know, there's no Yokozuna again. So we're almost already in the world where there is no new Yokozuna, and, every once in a while we get a guest appearance from one, basically.
That's not wrong.
Yeah.
So on the topic of potential future Yokozunas, we're going to go to the very hotly contested Ozeki branch. Are thankfully now 2 Ozekis, and we'll talk about our former Ozekis later on.
Mm-hmm.
Ozeki East Takakeisho, congratulations on clearing Katoban.
Thankfully.
Yes, we're Takakeisho fans here, and it was a roller coaster ride to watch him in this basho sort of have these moments of absolute dominance and then falling on his face and potentially relying on some questionable refereeing.
2 in a row.
Everybody's human, and I'm certainly not going to be a Gyoji anytime soon.
No.
So I'm going to give them all the slack. This has been something that seems to happen when an Ozeki is in need of a win. That being said, again, you cannot take away what Takakeisho has earned, which has been some hard-fought wins, particularly later on against people like Takayumi and Endo, who he sometimes has trouble with.
Right. And that first match with Yu Takayama, he was very aggressive. He started off this tournament, and I was like, okay, all is well in the world. He had this time off, and it did him good. And slowly but surely, the Okonomi fight, and I think it was the Kageaki fight. I'm like, something's not right. My optimism is slowly getting crushed.
He started losing. The Kirabayama fight was very telling because that was somebody who was not supposed to lose to. Okinomi was on a tear.
Yeah.
So that's something that started out puzzling, but then later on, it's like, okay, he was hungry for it. Again, cleared Katoban, and maybe he can hobble himself together for September. Not sure.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
So first, I'm going to read a quote from his Oyakata. There's a lot to say about this, particularly because Takakeisho is not you don't get a lot from him. You don't know what's going on in the world of Takakeisho. He's not doing all these interviews talking about the state of his health, the state of his mind. He's kind of keeping everything close to the chest. So to hear this stuff makes me very nervous. Here is what Chiganaura said. He told me last night he is in too much pain to wrestle. It seems like he was wrestling through pain since day 8. I'm really sorry for the fans. I'm sure he's just as disappointed. Takakeisho rarely complains of pain, so it must really hurt. His lack of aggressiveness recently has to do with both the knee pain and not training enough. I hope he gets treated and looks ahead with optimism. Now, I feel like you could read into so much. If you were in Japan, if you understood, the dynamics and everything, there's probably a lot more that I'm not going to pick up in that translated statement. But what it says to me is a couple of things. One, I think his tentativeness that we saw early on might be a case of mental stuff. And I'm not talking like I haven't trained enough. It's I've hurt my knee 3 times now in these tournaments. If you see when he did his Ozeki run, he was unstoppable. He was powerful. He was strong. He was confident. I couldn't believe how much confidence he had. All it takes is one injury that doesn't go away to shake your confidence so much. And now your Tachi is a mess because you're not going in aggressive enough. You're going in too low. You're doing desperate things. You're pulling. He was doing a lot of pulling.
Yes.
That Enho match, where he basically stepped out. They did the dead body rule with Enho was already out, but he stepped out. Even the Miyatake match, that was a desperate lunge. Like, I hope I have enough power to push him out before I fall. So, yeah, you have the injury, and I don't know how bad the injury is. It sounds like for his stable master to actually say that, it sounds like it's pretty bad. But then you also have the mental element. How is he ever going to feel comfortable again with that knee? He's sort of in no man's land where you go to get a surgery or go to make a major change, you lose Ozeki, and what if you never get it back? Which we'll talk about that later. Or do you keep fighting through the pain until your knees are shot and you never get a shot at Yokozuna and you do the Goeido, where you're in one tournament, you're Kataban the next, you're in, you're out. I don't know the answer to that. Like, what would be best for him?
It's hard to say. It's also a bit of a paradox. We had discussed this earlier, that for somebody who's heavily injured and sort of getting Katoban back and forth, it almost sounds like he's this guy pushing his 30s who has a storied history, but he's not even 24. He's got so much sumo time left in his body, and he's already hitting these sort of late career issues. And it's now, again, we're outside of the source. There's so much context here. There's a lot of information we just never are going to get. It does seem that he needs to have some sort of a course correction, and whether or not that's already happening and it's just going to take time, or whether he had plans to get these things going and then everything that's been happening this year happened and all of a sudden all his plans got thrown out the window. Hard to say. It is interesting to hear his stable master say these things. It's been sort of its own story about how he's been inherited to the new stable, and there was some initial conversion, reacclimation, and the Oyakata has sort of fallen into this almost PR position for Takakeshu because he is so stoic and not as approachable, or at least that's the appearance it is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he's gone through a lot of things in his short sumo career, in the sense that, he switches stables, and that whole scandal thing had to be stressful. They had the reporters out there every day, and then next thing you know, the guy who's raising you, the guy who was your hero, is gone. He's just gone from sumo, period, and now he's gone from you, and you're going to this new stable. There's a lot of things you have to think about in terms of when you're looking at a young man's career who's soaring the way he is. There's the sports medicine aspect now that's so big in all sports, but it's really becoming big in sumo. Sumo's a little behind, say, the sport medicine of, baseball. They're obsessed with it in baseball. But, what do you do with this young guy who could really go places? And he's gone so far. There's guys in Juryo who are older than him. If you want to look at Asanoyama, who we're going to talk about in a minute, he's 3 years older than him. I mean, he's ascended to this top rank over all these guys who are older than him. And yet here he's got these knee problems that they're not going to go away unless there's a sport medicine project in place, if there's a mental change. I just hope that Takakesho is willing, to work with everybody, and that they've got a plan, and that everybody's just taking care of this, and we never have to talk about this again.
It's sort of, you can't help but feel like this is the cliffhanger, and you're not sure if we're going to get the happy ending. Yeah,
and that's really sad, because it was really fun watching him get to Ozeki. It was a really fun ride. We'll just see. To be continued.
Yeah. So from glass half empty to glass half full, we have our Ozeki West, the Sanoyama, who did everything I hoped he would do, which is not completely fall on his face. And
unless you're talking about the leg pick, but that's aside.
Yeah, he did really well. He proved that all the talk about him was worthwhile. 12 wins is definitely solid. I know he's been getting some flack because he sort of had a chance at getting the trophy. He sort of fell on his face. I'm willing to cut him slack. And I just hope that he's able to keep this momentum going. So we have from Takakeisho, we hope that he has a career, to Sanoyama that we're sort of saying there's a white belt in your future if you can just do a little bit, whatever else he needs. I'm hoping that Sanoyama can come into his own, and the way he's performing, he's not going to be Yokozuna overnight, but he's definitely on track.
Yeah, I've always been sort of iffy on him. I was really glad how he performed in this tournament because, truth be told, I want to see everybody doing well. I want to see everybody ascending. You don't want to see any demotions. You just want to see progress and excitement and somebody who can replace these aging Yokozuna who have been the staples for so long. You want that. And I've always wondered with Asanoyama if he has the fire, sort of the X factor. He's immensely talented. He's strong. He's got everything you need. But here's where the mental aspect comes in. Now, like you said, he performed exactly the way I had hoped. He looked like an Ozeki. He looked like the best Ozeki we've had in a while, as a matter of fact. And it was his debut, so he didn't let the jitters affect that. Now, when you get to the leg pick situation, that's one of those mental errors, and that's one of those, that sumo sense I talked about with Hakuho. First of all, everybody knows Terutsuyoshi pulls the leg pick. And I think Asanoyama was just too eager and too, I don't know the best way to put it, but I'll say trustworthy, like this was going to be on the up and up. And Terutsuyoshi's not going to, that's not his style of sumo, to, use that phrase.
Yes.
His style is to do what he's got to do to win, especially if he's trying to help out Terunofuji. He's going to do what he's got to do. So it was a blunder on his part, but, I was watching the live NHK feed, and Asanoyama was in the hallway, and he was watching the replay of the pick. And he was on his knees on the ground with his head against the laptop. And while that was a crushing thing to see, it was a great thing to see. Because sometimes you need these crushing defeats to give you that fire so that I got to push just a little bit harder. I've got to have just a little bit more sense. And he'll get there. He's brand new, and we're going through COVID-19. So, he didn't get to practice that much. Mm-hmm. Very impressive what he did, considering how little practice anybody got.
Yep. And that's another point, sort of how much of this was him just having a little lapse because he wasn't all the way in it. Now, he did face Terutsuyoshi on day 14. You'd like to think he had it together there. I think the Terutsuyoshi loss is, like you said, sort of just a momentary lapse. And just the way sumo is, it's a fraction of a second in that Tachi-ai, and that's all that somebody will need. But a very bright future ahead for him, and going to be keeping an eye on him going forward because he's got a Yokozuna campaign to start. And the 12-3 wins probably isn't going to do it by itself, but if he keeps that kind of record consistently, we're going to have to start talking about it, and that's good news.
Well, especially because what we've just been through with all the Ozeki that were there, nobody's posting 12-3 numbers. It was always like 10, 11 if you're lucky, a bunch of 9s. I mean, it's nice to see a guy who consistently is posting 12 wins in Ozeki, so. It's
good news. So, people who want to be Ozeki, we're going to go down to the Sanyaku. We're going to start with Sekiwake East with Shodai, who is showing that there was the on Shodai and off Shodai, and he apparently has destroyed the off switch, which is very good news because when Shodai is strong, he looks just unbeatable. And Shodai's problem always seemed to be how many days out of the tournament are you going to get the unbeatable Shodai? and he did really well last tournament. And it looked like the 4-month hiatus did nothing to keep that momentum going. Very good to see. 11 wins is definitely going to get that Ozeki campaign going.
Yeah, and I think everybody's excited about that because we had 4 Ozeki for a brief period of time. And even before that, you had the time where there was 4 Yokozuna. So you had these periods of time that were so exciting to have all these top guys. And now it's been decimated, and we're all hungry for the next crop of Ozeki. Shodai, I had mentioned about Daisho before. We'll get more into him in a minute. But Shodai was also a wrestler that I would see these flashes of brilliance. So if I'm watching a guy I really like, I'm watching Takakeisho, or, I'm watching even Tochinoshin when he was trying to go for his Ozeki run. As soon as I saw Shodai on the matchup, my mind would go, uh-oh. Because what Shodai are we going to get? I always felt like Shodai could beat anyone, just would he? So to see him be consistent like this, to see him hungry, all the best. I hope this works out for him. I hope he gets that Ozeki.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people, the young up and comers. They're getting their gumption, and Shodai didn't seem to be the guy who would be there, but he's getting his stuff together, and if he gets really good showing in September, then his name's going to be in there, and then it's just a matter of who could get that trophy. And if Shodai can beat anybody,
exactly. And he's missed out twice now.
Yes.
So very close to being in that championship match, and just, that, once again, you need that adversity to push you. I mean, at some point, you get to the highest level, and what pushes you? Shodai has kind of needed to get a push out of, hanging around, Sanyaku, Komusubi, hanging around, the number 1 rank. He's got the push now. He's seen the light where this is possible, and now he's just got to do it. Yeah,
both Shodai and Asamiyama, they're going to have that bitter taste in their mouth, and they're going to want to wash it out with an Emperor's Cup.
Well, hopefully they'll influence each other as well, because they're both kind of going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And, maybe they'll motivate each other to fight harder, like whenever they got to fight each other. So
it'll be good to keep an eye on him. Next, onto Sekiwake West, we've got Takayumi, talking about people who need a swift kick in the bollocks. He did well. I mean, you can never say Takayumi did bad unless he's coming after a tournament win, in which case he crumbles.
Crumbles under the pressure.
But he's got solid sumo. He's a Yokozuna beater. He's a streak ender. He plays foil. He's just so good, and I can't help but feel that now that he's been passed up by 2 people, he's got to be hungry for it.
Yeah, I don't know what's missing from Takayumi sumo. Once again, you talk about that invisible X factor, but it's not so clear with him. I mean, he pulls off some wins that you'd have to have this heightened sumo sense. And then sometimes he's in the ring and you're like, did you just... Like the Takakeisho match. I couldn't believe he lost that, actually.
He had a little help.
Yeah, he did. But on the other hand, how he even got pushed out.
Yeah.
I mean, Takakeisho was falling. Takakeisho was the dead body, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know how these things happen to him. I don't know if it's... My guess is it has something to do with the Tachi-Eye. I should pay more attention to what his Tachi-Eye looks like. I'm guessing that when he's on, he's on. And when the Tachi-Eye is slightly off, things fall apart. Because other than that, he's got everything it takes, and he's got the motivation. He had these opportunities to be Ozeki. He's won the tournament twice.
Yes. Which is not easy to do.
How do you win the tournament twice and you still can't get the Ozeki rank? I mean, he's got to be frustrated.
There's got to be a volcano in there somewhere. He just needs to find a way to tap it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, same as Shodai, 11 wins. He was in the Yusho race. Give him a good September. I mean, if the entire upper crust has a good September, then a lot of people are going to be talking about their promotion, and it's really exciting.
It is. It's about time.
Yeah. Also, the thing is just the way you get enough people up top, and they all want the same thing. Only one person's going to get it.
That's right.
So we're gonna get a Shark Tank going if we're not too careful here. And that's That's exciting too.
Meanwhile, though, it's the last guys in the rung who are winning the tournaments. Can't quite understand how everybody's
topsy-turvy.
11 wins, 12 wins, but it's, Maegashira 17 that wins. But that's for later.
That's for later. Down to Kamasubi, the Kamasubi East Daisho. I'd call him the perpetual dark horse, but I think he's won prizes 2 bashos in a row now. He's the only reason he's not Sekiwake is because both of them passed. He's got it, and I think now there's no getting around it. He is solid.
Yeah, he has been the dark horse. Like, he's the guy who, we'll talk about him, but he's a lot like Hokuto Fuji, where his sumo is really good, and you look at his record, and it's like, what's going on here? Like, he should have been here much sooner based on his quality of sumo. But things just didn't line up. They didn't work out. Perhaps a little too eager, a little off balance. Usually a balance is an issue. But he's showing it now. If people haven't noticed Daisho, I think they're going to notice him now. He's very, very solid.
Really solid. He got, like a lot of people in that Megashira 1 through 5, got sort of caught up in the Ozeki logjam when Goedo and Tochinoshin and Takayasu were all falling out and trying to clear Kataban, and then they're trying to get back from Sekiwake to Ozeki, and the Sanyakus were just
taking those spots.
It's a hot mess for a year, and so I think that it's almost bad luck for Daisho that he wasn't able to get those Sanyaku ranks up until now, but he just never, there's no quit in him. He'll slap you down all the way to the gates of hell.
Yeah, and I always have to be careful saying this, but he seems not injury proof, but he seems like he's got a good thing going where I'm not necessarily worried about injuries. He's a tough, hard-nosed Rikishi who can blast you out, but he's not favoring a knee as far as we know, favoring ankle injuries or anything. It's really both. I mean, you can be a tough guy, but you also have to be able to take care of your body, and luck comes into that.
There's a bit of luck.
So I think if all goes well, you're just going to keep seeing him soar because he's tough. You just can see it.
Another guy with 11 wins too. I mean, he's Kamasubi, but if he pulls the trophy out, that's 3 people who could be Ozeki in 6 months. That's fun.
That's super fun.
That's stories. So Okinomi Kamasubi West isn't in an Ozeki run per se, but it is really good to see him with a 9-6 in Sanyaku.
Yeah.
That's a feel-good story.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to watch these guys, fade out at the end. It's kind of nice when they, right at the end of their career, they're coming up, they're showing, all these years, look, I'm tough, I'm strong. They throw the young guys around, the young guys try to do these fancy moves, and they just, Okinomi's just taking them down. I appreciate that about him.
He did good. He did, good to see him. Just there's a lot of people in that mid-range, mid to upper range, that you feel like you need your day in the sun.
Yes.
And now I'd love to eat my words and have him go on an Ozeki run too, but I'm just glad to see him. Glad to see him up there and getting it, because another thing that happens is usually when you get that Sanyaku rank the first time, you just get hammered back down. He's just like, nah, this is mine.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hang out here for a little while, see how it goes. He's not our next guy, Endo.
Megashira now. Megashira 1 East. Endo, who I had written him off because, he was 1-5 through the first 6 days, but he pulls 8-7 out on the last day. Endo is solid sumo. I mean, he's a Yokozuna beater.
Yeah. He's that guy who has all the talent. He's got the moves. He can pull moves that, he's not just going to push and thrust you out. He can throw you. He can, outmaneuver you. But he's just kind of just there all the time. He makes it into Sanyaku one tournament, then he's out the next. He's a man of extremely few words.
Yes.
As I have heard in many interviews, interviewers don't really even enjoy interviewing him because he just doesn't want to say anything. So hard to say what's going on with him. He's still a super popular Rikishi, so I'm assuming he's having fun. He's doing his thing. I don't know how serious he is. There's no way to know.
If he turns a corner, all of a sudden he can make a break for it. He's just, every time he seems to do that, the next Basho, he's sort of just something, whatever alignment misaligns, and he just crumbles back down. But, I mean, he's still real good. And back when Tochinoshin was, like, the monster, he would throw that guy on his butt, and that was just like, damn, Endo, you got this guy's number.
Yeah, like, why can't you just...
But he's still good.
Yeah, and then if you look at the losses, if you want to be a top guy, you got to beat these guys. Mm-hmm. But he lost to Asanoyama, Hakuho, Takakeisho, Mitakeumi, and Shodai. All the guys who were there at the end. Takakeisho was there at the end until he pulled out. But you got to beat at least a couple of those guys if you want to be...
Yeah, that's a fair counterpoint. The first rungs of the Megashira are kind of a meat grinder, and that you get high enough up there, and then your entire week is full of people who want to get Yokozuna and Ozeki, and they will just destroy anyone in their way, so it's kind of a bad place to be.
And if he's always hanging out there, then he's always fighting these...
Yeah. It's hard to say one way or the other.
I'd like to see him, I'd like to see him make a run at something. I'd like to see... I enjoy his sumo. I enjoy, that I don't know if he's going to pull a throw, if he's going to, catch a guy off balance. I don't know what he's going to do, and that's kind of exciting. But when the lackluster stuff comes in, it's like, Endo being Endo.
Endo being Endo. So, Yutakayama not being Yutakayama.
Oh,
he had
that hurts.
Megashira One West did not have a good time of it. He picked up a good number of wins near the end, but Yutakayama, he was in the running with everyone else. I am going to guess that this is an example of that X factor of no training that we were talking about, that there's a lot of people who, previous tournament, they were just strong as heck, and they come into this and they just do not have a handle on anything.
Well, I remember probably a year or two ago, before Asanoyama started his rise, Yutakayama and Asanoyama, who, they cite being each other's rival, they both won special prizes at the end of one of those tournaments. And it looked like at the time, who is going to be the guy who rises up? They looked pretty even. And here you've got Asanoyama climbing, and Yutakayama, I think, he was in Juryo, or either earlier this year or late last year. So, I think I don't know if injuries are a part of this. There could be an injury factor. But, he's full of desire. He's skilled. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I was really surprised when he wound up 5-10. I didn't expect that.
What was worse is that he only had one win after 10 days.
And when you see who he beat, Ono Sho, which we're going to talk about him,
oh no,
Kiribayama, Ikioi, Ishiura, Enho, these are not... He's got the same problem as Endo in the sense that he had all the top guys in the beginning. But,
yeah.
But still, it was a disappointment. I'm sure he's very disappointed. I'm sure it's eaten him alive that Asanoyama just killed it in this tournament.
Yeah.
And
this is, the counterpoint as well is this is what happens when every single person in Sanyaku and above post a winning score.
Right, somebody's got to lose.
Who's going to be eating that losing sandwich? And it looks like a lot of it was
the Megashira.
The Megashira 1 through 5. Towards that end, Endo came out of this looking pretty good.
Fair point.
But still, it's someone. This is the casualty, and sort of almost he was a casualty to everyone else's success. But he's still good, and it's one of those things that. Maybe it's just going to take him a little longer to get up there, but he's definitely got the fighting spirit.
He does, and I think that he could be very successful if everything aligns and, got to see what's going on. He's got some tape on the knee, but I didn't necessarily see any limping or, all these guys are injured, really. Realistically.
Nobody goes in 100%.
Yeah, everybody's got something wrong. It's just a matter of how bad is your injury and, how much does it hurt? How much can you get through? Even Asanoyama had tape on his foot, by the end of the tournament, so...
Just gotta hold yourself together.
Yep.
I forgot about Megashira 2 East Takanosho with 8 and 7.
I did too.
He had a good time of it.
Yeah.
He took one off a Shodai?
Yeah, he took one off a Shodai. And Daisho.
He's part of that group of people that you just, that's kind of like, he's the new Daisho, I guess. You just look over, you're just like, oh yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I didn't really notice what you were doing.
Man.
Yeah, he's a young guy. He's doing his thing. I think Takanosho is in Takakeisho's stable. I'll have to look that up. But if that's the case, then, this is discussed a little bit in the NHK Live feed. Some of these guys don't have salaried wrestlers to train with. So when you've got a situation where you cannot go to the other stables to train, what are you going to do if you've got nobody in your stable to train with? So, you can really benefit if you've got an Ozeki in your stable or, some up-and-comers. I believe Takanosho is with Takakeisho there.
He pulled it together, though.
He pulled it together. He's going to... I don't know what he's going to do. He could take Mike Ashira 1 west.
He's going to cozy right up there, most likely.
Because Endo will probably stay where he is unless they add another Komusubi.
They might. I don't know. I think that Endo and Takanosho, I think a lot of those people are just going to have to stay put for a little bit. The log jam coming down, but I've made no attempt at trying to guess how these things are going to plan out. No. I am nowhere near that talented in figuring it out. Megashira 2 West.
Oh no, show.
This was, I think, when he won his first match on day 14, that celebration was about as loud as when Terunofuji won the tournament.
It was amazing, wasn't it? He had the little head flip, and I was having a good time watching that.
It is... Oh, man, I felt so bad for him. Because a couple of those losses were him just falling over. A couple of those losses, like, he really wanted it, and he just didn't get it. And it hurt sometimes to watch. I mean, a lot of this is... How much of this is ring rust? Now, again, when you're fighting Shodai, Takakeisho, Mitakeumi, Hakuho, Asanayama, what are you going to do when all of them are on a tear? You're just going to eat clay. Exactly.
And he is 24 years old. Just barely 24 years old. Hakuho, I think he was the first Hakuho Cup winner. So Hakuho's got a special place in his heart for Ono Show. He's got time.
Yeah,
he's a young guy. He's got some things he's got to put together. If you look at it, he wins on day 14 and 15. He basically used the tournament as training.
Basically.
It's like, oh, I finally got this, and the tournament is over.
The tournament's over.
So he's probably going to be really happy that the next tournament is not so far away.
To sort of clean the mind of that.
Because he's going to drop.
He'll drop a bit. He'll come right back up, though. He
will.
He was on the rise. He was starting to ding on people's radars. And this is going to sort of kill that momentum a little bit. But I mean, he's young. He's hungry. And when he's not 2-13, he's looking pretty good.
I think when he drops, the motivation of getting those last 2 wins and just having easier guys to fight, he's probably going to have a good September tournament, is my guess. Mm-hmm. We'll just forget all about July and move on. I think that's what will happen for him.
He needs to call this one, just wipe it off.
Fluke.
It's a fluke. It's a wash.
Thank God you were Megashira 2 when this happened.
All right, on to Megashira 3 East. Takarafuji, 5 and 10, but again, this is the 1 through 5. You're not going to have a good time if you're up against all these really hungry upper crust. And I mean, Takarafuji, he's just fun.
He's sort of middle management is the best way to put it. This is what he does. He's talented enough to stay in the game and stay sort of in that Megashira 7 and 8. And then what'll happen is he gets up to the higher, 1 through 3, and then he gets beat again and goes back to 7 and 8. But he's still good enough to keep. So he just balls back and forth. He's Mr. Solid. He's fun to watch. Every once in a while, he may pull off beating a veteran that you're like, how did he do that? But he's like that stable guy. And you always just want to see him in the tournament. It's like, oh, all is well in the world. It's Takarafuji.
Takarafuji. It'll be a good match. He's not gonna do anything wily.
No.
Usually.
He's going to kind of hang in there, do what he can do, and then, it's usually an endurance match.
Mm-hmm.
He'll put up a fight, but he's not going to beat your face in like Aoyama probably would.
Yeah, so he'll tumble down a little bit, but I mean, that's his sweet spot anyway.
Yeah.
So he'll do pretty well next time. So Megashira 3 West is Kiribayama, another sort of rising star that got swatted down a little bit, but he pulled out some really good techniques, and he's sort of like Onosho, less drastically, but both of them, they're sort of going to get knocked down a peg, but they've got good stuff going. They're fun to watch, and you just know that this time next year,
we're going to be seeing a very different Kiribayama.
Yes, they're going to be evolving.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, who's Ozeki, and then here's the guys challenging for the next thing.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of these young guys that, it's going to be very exciting when they get a little more seasoned, and they, because you saw it with Kiribayama when he was fighting Okinomi, you could see the inexperience and, But he's someone to watch. Hopefully he stays tough and doesn't have a Tomokaze.
No.
Still crying about that one.
Oh, forever my heart, Tomokaze. Please come back to us. All right, so Megashira 4, Kageyaki 5 and 10. It's, again, anybody who's in this, you're going to have a bad time of it. Kageyaki's showing promise. He has a dominant force. He's definitely somebody who was on the rise and just sort of just hit this brick wall, and that's not really a problem. Sometimes it's not your boss show.
Yeah, some of the commentators on NHK were just talking about how there's so much expectation for him in this, he just doesn't live up to it, and really nobody knows why. I'm sure his stable master has some ideas. I'm sure he has some ideas, but in the end, sometimes just things don't align. You've got a highly competitive field here, and, what are you going to do? If you don't have that X factor, if you don't have the next greatest oomph, or you don't train just a little bit harder than the next guy, you wind up like him. So, don't know what to think about him and his prospects. Will he hang out in the middle with Takeda Fuji? Or is he going to be Shodai in a year or so?
You never know. Keep an eye on him, though.
Yeah.
Keep an eye. Over to Megashira 4 West, Aoyama, my boy. Aoyama, I've told you this. Aoyama is how I got into sumo, because I would say, who is this big floppy man who's slapping people around?
Who is obviously not Japanese.
Obviously, I'm like, wait a minute, who are you?
I didn't know non-Japanese people were sumo.
I was completely ignorant of everything, and so here comes Aoyama just tunneling away, and he's a lot like Takara Fuji. He's that middle management, as you said, and he does the same thing. He's big, he'll slap you around. Every once in a while, he'll grab your belt or try to do a pull. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses, but he always tries, and his legs look more and more taped up through each tournament.
Yeah. Well, if you look at sumo the same way you would look at, like, professional wrestling, there's a character to it. So beyond, like, how tough a certain guy is, or, who's winning what, you want your character guys that kind of make the whole story fun. So a character like Aoyama, you need him. You need him in there. It's just not the same if he's not there, So regardless of what his results are, you get excited when you see somebody fight him. You don't know who's going to get pummeled. You don't know where this is going to go. And you need those sort of stable character guys that just make the whole essence of sumo a fun experience to watch.
You're absolutely right. When we were talking earlier, a lot of it was like career, it was promotion, it was the future, it was legacies, all this stuff. When we get into these career Megashira people, first off, they're still like the top 50 people in the world in sumo. Yeah. Nobody can claim that. And if they try to and they're not, they're just going to get thrown across the room like a rag doll. But you have these people, these characters, these people they're fun to watch. And sometimes when you're just watching these bouts day after day, like you'll see some really crazy thing. Like it'll be like when Aoyama and Hokuto Fuji just slap each other for 30 seconds and you're just like, I remember why I like this sport again.
Or even the little battle that Aoyama had with Terutsuyoshin. The two of them were very angry at each other. And you don't typically see anger right there out in the dohyo. It gave a little bit of character. It gave a little bit of a storyline. And in effect, sumo is entertainment, even though it is, also, like you said, the career aspect, the
sport.
The sport itself. The entertainment aspect has to be there too, and it's just not the same if you don't have your characters like Oyama or Takada Fuji. They bring something to it that's just the variety.
It's what you need.
Yeah.
Speaking of characters...
Oh!
Megashira 5 East Abi goes drinking during a basho.
In a pandemic.
Oh gosh, what's going on? Abi.
Well, you got a couple of issues here. First of all, this is not his first time getting in trouble. He got in trouble for, tying up an attendant and putting it on Instagram.
Yes.
I think he gets in trouble for other little things. I don't know what he's thinking. Now, either he's got somebody behind the wings, who gets behind and cleans up his messes, and that's why he hasn't been in super trouble, or he's just crazy. Because Japan can be quite strict and severe. More strict and severe than any other country. In America, you could practically kill someone and your career's not going to end. In Japan, you look at somebody sideways and your career's over. Depends on who that person was that you looked at. So for him to go out and do something like that, I don't know what he was thinking.
It's hard to say. It's one of those things that this could just have been something that he's always done.
Right.
And obviously I don't know, I'm not there, but the stable master could have just, slapped him on the side of the head and say, don't do that. And
not tell anybody.
And not tell anybody. But now it's going to be this big thing that what's going to happen to him, what kind of discipline's going to come down. At time of writing, I just know that they are talking about what to do with it. They haven't rendered a verdict. You can see there being anything from a stern warning to having to sit another tournament out to just full-on kicking him out. And I'm not going to throw my hat in that ring.
No, because no matter how you look at it, this is a tough situation. When you have conduct outside of the ring that determines your future. Hakaku had said that this was an unforgivable offense. Now, when you hear words like that in Japan, that makes me concerned. They kicked Haruma Fuji out. He was Yokozuna top of his game. Goodbye. They kicked Asashoryu out. Now, not to get too political, I don't know if they would be as severe on a Japanese wrestler or not. The thing that Haruma Fuji and Asashoryu have in common is they're Mongolian. There is a little bit of Mongolian stigma. We even see it with Hakuho. So I really don't know. Will they give Abi another chance? Will they say he's just young, no big deal? Or they be really upset because, he could have injured, he could have risked people's lives doing that. I have seen the two things that I saw mentioned, so there's probably a variety of other things, were getting demoted to Jurio and getting kicked out. Flat out, kicked out, you're done. I don't know. It would be a shame for him to throw his career away for something so silly. We'll
have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
But Abi, come on.
You're killing us.
Killing us! You're so good! Slapping people in the face!
We can talk about his sumo briefly. His big issue is he's just so wild and off balance.
He's wild.
You see his feet are practically floating off the ring while he's slapping you.
And
people are like, I know what you're going to do. I'm going to make you fall.
Yeah, and he was Sanyaku, who was right there. Sometimes he just a little off tilt, but whatever decision is made, I'll respect the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it happen. At this point, it is in the council's hands.
Yep.
So, Megashira 5 West, Hokuto Fuji, another one of my boys. He is 110% all the way through, and he's in a similar boat to Yu Takayama, that he was in that crust of people who are just about to cross over, and then you have people like Shodai and Asanayama who make the cross, and then Hokuto Fuji just can't get that little bit left. And maybe Hokuto Fuji will get there, maybe everybody will get there soon, but it's just Hokuto Fuji's just not there yet. 9-6 this tournament, so he's on the up and up. Maybe he'll get that Sanyaku rank back. You can't tell. It's it's always something, just a little something with Hokutofuchi.
It's like early Daisho where you look at how hard he fights and you can't understand the record.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are you 3-12? You fought so hard. You had some of the most interesting matches in the entire tournament, and this is the whole manner of inches in sumo.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much that goes into it when you look at it. You've got to be tough. You got to be strong. You got to have your tachi-ai. You got to have your balance down. You've got to have your health. Sort of these I'm going to call him over-eager, even though I don't think he's over-eager. I think he's exactly what he should be. But sort of these intense characters who are flying at you with everything they got, sort of the calmer guys can kind of see through that sometimes. So, I mean, if you're going to be that sumo wrestler, you have to be so fast and so furious that the calm guy just doesn't have time to do his calculations.
Maybe Hokutofuchi will get there.
Yes.
Maybe not. We have to watch. But he's still got life in him, and the way he fights, he's not going to be anywhere but the upper area of Megashira. So.
And let's just add the character element of he is Psyduck.
Yeah.
If you look at his,
entering.
His entering before going in, he's always got the fist up. He's doing that little concentration thing. Where would we be without Hokutofuchi? Just wouldn't be the same.
He's a pleasure to watch. Speaking of getting figured out, Megashira 6 East Enho. Enho, I feel that this is typical of no training, because if anybody really needs to have that honed to a razor's edge at all times, it's Enho.
Yeah. He would be the one who would be hurt the most by a lack of training. He does have Hakuho, however, Hakuho probably has his own training he's got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And Enho has to, like you said, he's sort of on the razor edge on every match he's in, and we saw it in this tournament. If he makes a wrong move, he's done.
He's flattened.
And we're talking flattened, you're talking concussions, you're talking broken bones. I mean, he really is, it's always David versus Goliath with him. So he has to be so sharp just to stay alive, realistically. So without that training, there might have been a little bit of tentativeness. He struggled in the March tournament, too, because he didn't have the crowd. So a lot of his stuff, he's got to get amped up by things, and he's got to have his time to try moves, and he's got to almost be the perfect wrestler just to get by, and then he's got to go even higher if he wants to ascend.
He's definitely got a future. I would love to see him in Sanyaku.
Oh, how amazing.
I mean, it's a bit 2 steps back. Like you said, March wasn't the best for him. Now he's got 5 and 10, so he's going to be mid Megashira come September. Hopefully by the time next year comes around, he'll be back where he is now, and we get to see him sort of pick things back up. He's just always fun to watch, and the matches he's won, really good.
Always exciting.
Always exciting. Every Enho match is exciting.
Don't take the red Mawashi off.
Yes.
The gray was a mistake.
Yes.
Gray
is not your color.
Gray is not your color, and you're the little Mighty Mouse character. You need like this bold statement. That gray is not doing you any favors.
On to Megashira 6 West. Ryuden, who 7 and 8, so he pulled it back together a little bit. This guy, nothing but sympathy and sadness for Ryuden.
Yeah, I mean, when you lose a stablemate the way he did, one of two things were going to happen. He was either going to be a beast and just shut his mind down and mow everybody down, or he was going to struggle. And, you can't blame him for that. He's another comeback story who, years ago hurt himself, worked his way all the way back up. He's a heart guy, and he's grieving. His stable is grieving. He probably had it the hardest out of anybody in the tournament, and you just gotta let him work himself out. I think he did fine considering 7 and 8. He's not gonna go anywhere.
He's not gonna go far.
Just hope for better days.
Yeah, so he's still fun sumo. Heart goes out to him. We'll see what happens in September for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on to Megashira 7 East Teretsuyoshi.
I did not know that he was such a polarizing figure until I started reading some comments. I actually like him a lot. I know he's got He's got the chip on his shoulder. He's got the cocky thing going. He's doing the salt thing. It's that same sort of thing about how you need characters in sumo. If everybody's Asanoyama, realistically, it's not that exciting. You gotta have some flair, somebody who's a little off kilter. And that's where he's at. Some people took exception to how pumped up he was when he leg picked. But I thought it was brilliant. I enjoyed it. I did not realize at the time that he was Terunofuji's stablemate, because I got into sumo after Terunofuji fell. So brand new into what's going on with him. So, of course he's going to get a little excited, a little cocky. He got his just due when Kotoeko's like, "You're not going to leg pick me. Are you out of your mind?" So he got his humility in the end.
I had not made that connection either. And so when he beat Asanoyama, I just thought he was sort of he was just like, got him. But like this was him saying, I just got one for my boy. So they added that level to it. With Terunofuji, he's somebody who sort of, for me, it's good to see someone like when he came in and then in the salt throwing thing, and here's this little guy, and I'm just like, oh, it's a nice little twerk. I hope you're around for a while. And now it's like, now he's been around for a while. Now he's a mainstay, and now he's foiling tournaments. I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
Look at you go.
Yeah, get in there and play sport.
Yeah, get him. Now he does do, like we'd mentioned earlier, he'll do what it takes to win. He does hankas, he does sneaky stuff. The ankle pick thing, that's perfect. That's tough legit to do.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just jumping to the side and throwing someone in the dirt, which he does. Fun to see Terunofuji go. And 8 and 7 means he's playing with the big boys now. Let's see him go.
I think he's got the ability. See, one thing he's got that Enho doesn't is he's got a little bit more power. Mm-hmm. Enho's got to do all skill. Terunofuji can do both. Now, you got to pull it off. You know, some guys, like, they've got all this tool bag, but they can't do anything with it. So we'll see what he does, but I think he has potential, at least to stir up the pot, stir up some championships, be the guy who's like, oh, wow, are we going to get a 3-way playoff? I don't know, because he's fighting Terunofuji. I mean, that's a good role to be in.
I need to see him with a leather jacket with spikes on the shoulders.
Yeah, I could see him. I could see him going to Kakuryu the Don for a favor.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Keeping an eye on him. Over to our previous Cinderella story in Mega Shira 7 West. We have Tokushoryu 7-8's not bad.
He's hanging in
there. He's sort of back when he won the tournament. He's sort of just like, that's it for me. I'm gonna ride out into the sunset. But he's been holding it together. Yeah, and March, I think he got slapped around a little bit, but he was like at 2. So they brought him all the way up, and he just sort of got knocked back down. It's 7 and 8. That's not bad.
No,
I think he can be a Mega Shira for as long as he wants.
Yeah, and that's a nice. We were talking about this with Taka Keisho. It's kind of nice when you ascend at the end of your career.
Yes.
Because then it's like you get this nice big high, and now it doesn't matter what you do at the end. There isn't this pressure of, well, I've got 10 more years where I should be doing something. It's, I've done what I need to do. And now I can just have fun with it. I can make some money. I can do what I love. I can be a sumo wrestler as long as I want and then end on my terms. I look at, Tokushoryu that way. I think he's just doing his thing, living it up. And, I hope he can do what he wants to do and end when he wants to end. I
just want to keep seeing him throw people on the rope. For as long as possible.
It is pretty fun.
It's, the 400-pound ballerina. It never gets old.
No, it doesn't.
I will watch this forever, and just his effortlessly just pivots. He's so good at it.
Yeah.
He's so good at it. Mega Shira 8 East, Ishiura. Oh, Ishiura. On and off. It's weird because when Enho came in, there was that spark in Ishiura, and he started doing super well, and now it's the Ishiura, it's the pre-Enho Ishiura.
Yeah, which is interesting because Ishiura has been around for a while, and nobody was talking about him. They love Enho's little man sumo. Ishiura had been doing the little man sumo thing for a long time.
A while.
And it just, he's the Hanka guy. He got known to be the Hanka guy. And his Hankas aren't necessarily all that successful. He Hankas and he still gets thrown out. I like Ishiura. I would love to see him do more. He's he's got some muscle in addition to technique, but he seems like he's just all over the place. And I don't know. I don't know what to think of him. He trains with Hakuho. You would think that would make a big difference. Maybe it has. Maybe he wouldn't be where he is if Hakuho wasn't.
It's fair.
Yeah, so I do wonder, though, when Hakuho drops out of a tournament or isn't in a tournament at all, how much he focuses on Enho and Ishihara, how much it matters to him. It seems like it matters a lot. I wish I could be a fly in the wall in that stable. I really do.
There's a few questions I don't think we're ever going to get the answers to.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel that this is sort of where Ishihara is going to be. He's just going to be the rank and file guy. And it's, that, again, when you're top 42 in the world, that's powerful stuff. And he does good sumo. When Ishihara is on and he's got mixed of speed and power and he just uses it to run around people and throw them around, it's fun to watch, but sometimes he's more off than on. I wonder. Was he affected by all the COVID stuff too? Maybe this is just a blip in the radar and we shouldn't try to draw conclusions.
Right, maybe for some of these guys, we just toss the whole thing out and say,
it's possible.
Didn't matter.
Just Onosho half the Banzuke.
Yeah, we watched a live training session for 15 minutes.
We were sparring for a week and a half.
Yeah, nobody was taking this too seriously. Yeah, I mean, for some people, that's their best course of action is to treat it that way. I would think Ishihara would want to treat it that way unless he's aware of some other reason he was doing so bad. But he's in the same camp of he's got to be perfect. I don't think he'll get crushed, destroyed like Enho would because he's stocky. I think he could take some.
He could take a blow.
But he's got to be perfect to win a match. He's just so physically outclassed. That's a lot of pressure. And if you got Hakuho, great on one hand. He's going to show you things that no one can show you. On the other hand, you have Hakuho. You screw up, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like. Maybe the pressure's pretty immense.
You're his protege, and
he's on his way out the door, so now his thing is you guys. Like,
this is the student of the greatest of all time. You can't. I mean, it's got to be why he got here. Towards your point, but at the same time, that is a heavy weight on anyone's shoulder.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these guys would have a hard time. They do great, but they'd also have a really hard time having the greatest. The greatest. Saying, what are you doing over there?
Train harder.
I did watch a training video with Hakuho and Enho and Ishihara. Wow, it was scary.
There is
and that was what was filmed.
It's intense training over there. I would wash out of sumo school in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was holding my breath the whole time. Like, I feel like I'm going to die watching you train. So, Ishihara, we wish you the best.
Get in there, Ishihara. We believe in you. Megashira 8 West Chiu Tairyu, another rank and filer mainstay. If he hits you just show, he'll launch you into low Earth orbit. Great to watch. 6 and 9, it's not great. It's not terrible.
It's what he does.
He seemed a little off this basho, then again, everybody else did. Hard to tell. I like Chiu Tairyu.
Yeah.
He's so solid, and sometimes he'll end it in a half second. Other times he's one of those people who'll just throw down. It'll be 45 minutes of just decking each other in the face until somebody finally falls over.
Yeah, he's, once again, another one of those character guys where, if he's there, it's exciting. But he's probably going to hang out in the middle management with Takeda Fuji. They're just going to chill.
Provide some solid sumo.
Yep. Maybe every once in a while surprise somebody, but they're just doing their work. Megashira 9. Oh my gosh, Tamawashi's at 9 now. 9 East. 10 and 5 though. He'll be on the way back up. Sort of our, I wouldn't say original Cinderella story, but the first, the guy who started it all with this, guys winning the tournament who weren't the top guys. The beginning of the underdog tournament tear. He was in Sanyaki. He earned it all, and he's good on the tail end of the career, but he still got it. And I think I'm actually going to be interested to see if he continues to go back up, because the way he loses usually isn't always on him.
And also 10-5 means he's gonna take advantage of a lot of those low scores above him. He may get a good climb.
Yeah, he's gonna leapfrog over quite a few people. I think.
We'll see if that puts him in a position.
He
to
might
try
at
to
least
get back.
take Enho's spot.
Maybe.
Yeah, Tamawashi, the biggest thing I can say is he's a terrifying man with that Totari armbar thing.
Watch your elbows.
Been breaking some elbows for a while, breaking some dreams. Maybe some guys are like happy that he's down at 9 and not messing with their careers. He's hurt quite a few guys, which is strange since he's like the nice cookie making sumo wrestler.
So nice. I mean, that's the fun thing is the personalities when you figure out about some of these people.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, once they start winning and they get the spotlight, then you get to know a little bit more about them. They get the articles, they get the interviews, and you're just like, I can get behind
like this guy.
He's cool. It's good. Now, for tragedy, Megashira 9 West, Ikioi.
Oh, well, that's been a car accident for a while.
Oh, Ikioi, beloved. Yes. He's so good. There's no quit in him. He's the Black Knight from Monty Python. He will just fight on. There's no limbs left. He's bleeding all over the place. The only way we're going to get him to stop doing sumo is if something falls off of his body.
Yeah, or somebody, kicks him out.
I don't know. I mean, he's an inspiration.
He is.
He will be hobbled together. Now, he did seem to be at least in relatively okay shape, at least until the second half when he was battered again. But he will be just held together by coat hangers and good intentions, and that is not going to stop him. He will just go forward, go strong, and just then eat dirt 12 times this tournament. I'd like to think that maybe he just got ring rust, and maybe he'll be back, but this could be some of the final moments. I don't want him to go, but this may not be something I have any say in.
Yeah, it's always been kind of the question of how long are you going to keep going? When he went down to Jurio, I thought that might have been it. Oh, he was so
he
bad shape. He made his way back up, and
he never dies.
This is what he wants to do, and he's going to do it until he can't.
Yep,
that's him. I wonder how the other wrestlers feel about him. I've never heard any interviews about him. It'd be very interesting to know what they think about this guy, because sitting on the sidelines, I think he's amazing.
He's great to watch. I hope the best for him. Maybe he'll be able to rebound. Hopefully the month will be enough to heal him a little bit, just so that he can get another 15 days out of his body.
Yeah.
We'll see. We will see. Megashira 10 East Kaisei, with Ichinojo and Jurio. He's the big man on campus. He didn't have a good time of it. He didn't look like he had his stuff together.
He's plagued by injuries.
Yeah.
I think it was
neck
last year. Yeah, he had the neck thing. He started talking about his injuries a little bit last year. That was the first time I had heard that. I think I don't know, for the time being, he's going to be doing the same middle management thing, maybe even lower Magashira, up and down in Jurio. He's a big guy. He's battered. He has a style of sumo that encourages you to get battered even more. When you do the slap style, you get a lot of things like a neck injury or, busted orifices. So, we'll have to see what happens with him. Wait and
see. He's always fun to watch.
Yeah, he's another character guy.
Another character guy. Please don't go anywhere, Kaisei. We hope for your success.
On the outside, I hear he's a very nice guy, very fun. People like to be around him, so.
Megashira 10 West, Myogiryu. He started out this tournament looking like hot fire. He's somebody who was in the upper crest of it, and this is sort of what happens when they're in that near Sanyaku contention. They fall down a little too much to the point they just get their momentum back, and he's going to be on a tear.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was going to be one of the guys whose career just kind of went away. I was surprised when Goedo retired, and I thought maybe Myogiryu would be one of those guys that all of a sudden you'd hear, "Oh, I've retired," which is what Tochi Ozan did. But no, I mean, the 10-5, I'm like, oh, he's not done.
Not done.
He's going to keep going.
We'll see if he gets a second wind of it.
Yeah.
Because of solid stuff. His wins were decisive. And
he can really teach the young guys,
Yeah.
You got to have your veterans to show the young guys not to mess around.
Yeah. Just
like try your little moves, but this is what a veteran is going to do to you.
He's going to throw you on the ground if you try to play.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So you got to have those guys to get the young guys to learn and,
Megashira 11 East Shimanomi did not have a good time of it. Usually he's the strong stoic. He just sort of fell apart. I'm going to guess he'll be regrouping or he'll be in Juryo.
Yeah, he doesn't have a strong... I'll say he doesn't have a strong presence. He doesn't stand out. He's not somebody that I remember a whole lot. That will come in time if he starts winning, so...
Yeah. I feel like he's not too long here, relatively newer. Maybe I'm completely out of it.
Well, say this, I don't remember him. Both of us are relatively new to the sumo world in comparison to some others. So we'll say certainly new to us.
Newer,
yeah.
He's been around. Well, hopefully he comes back. Again, a lot of gimmies going on here. A lot of people just keep it together. Speaking of keeping it together, Megashira 11 West Tochinoshin are very good news for people who are or were Ozeki.
Yes.
Good to see him. I think he benefited immensely from having May off. Him and his knees had a time to regroup. The
first break in
ever,
yeah.
Yeah.
And all the years he's fought.
He was doing it wasn't Ozeki level Tochinoshin. I don't know if that mythical beast will ever return, but he was doing some of the stuff that got him there.
Yes.
He was grabbing people's belt and escorting them out. He wasn't like lifting them into the sky like reenacting Lion King, but
with Enho.
But it was good. It's good to see him strong, and he looked like he was on the way out, and just sort of seeing him sort of dig in on the way back up. It'd be great to see him in Sanyaku again. I don't know if he'll ever get up there, but just every time Tochinoshin wins, it means you get to see more Tochinoshin sumo.
Right, so Tochinoshin, probably one of the most exciting sumo wrestlers to emerge in the last few years. He'd been around forever, and then he was the Cinderella story, getting injured, coming all the way back. When he was doing his Ozeki run, it was probably one of the most exciting things I had seen in sumo. I had just become a fan, and it was perfect timing. And if he could have kept it, he could have been a dominant Yokozuna. And it would have been so exciting, so fun. Everything about him is fun. He's got a huge fan base in Georgia, and they are passionate sumo fans. Just hats off, I hope he can just keep doing what he wants to do.
Yes.
I hope he's happy in sumo. I would love to see him back in Ozeki. I would love to go back to that time and have that Tochinoshin again, but I'm always going to be rooting for him. I don't care where he's at, Without him, sumo is not the same.
It's not the same.
So I'm glad that he, if he's good, I'm glad that he didn't say, well, now I'm not Ozeki, I'm done. Because I would be sad and sumo would not be the same, and he brings an excitement that very few can.
So, walking away as Ozeki is perfectly understandable, and I would not begrudge anybody who does that.
Right.
But selfishly, I like watching sumo, so the more the merrier.
Yeah, it's like you're watching all these matches, and sure, there's lots of guys we like, but Tochinoshin's one of the ones where it's like, oh, it's Tochinoshin. Like, you just stop everything you're
Time
doing.
to pay attention.
Especially if he's fighting Enho or his battles with Ichinojo were always like, look at these two giant guys. So nothing but the best for him. It was good to see him get a 10-5 after all
on the way back.
Yeah, so we'll see. Everybody's rooting for you pretty much.
He's a celebrity.
He is.
The lower end celebrity, but just the same.
Yeah.
Megashira 12 East Sadanomi 8-7. Another mid-range guy. He's been picking up some momentum. He's sort of mainstay now. Keeping an eye on him. He's a sleeper. Yeah. He's a sleeper. You write him out, and then he just starts throwing people on their butts. So I want to see him evolve.
Yeah. See what the next stage is.
See what Sadanomi can grow into. He's I mean, 8-7 means he's sticking around. Now that we're near the lower end of the Megashira discussion, now we're going to start talking about people disappearing into the quagmire of Juryo.
Or in some cases, maybe retirement.
Well, we'll see what happens. Some of these people there.
Shohozan is a big question mark for me.
Yeah.
He looks like he could go forever. I mean, he does not look as old as he is. I think he's 36 now. He's now he's one of the elders, and he's just looked strong for a long time. But this tournament showed, it could have been the training. Once again, it could have been the training. But this tournament showed that he's not the Shohozan of old. He
wasn't all there this time. He didn't have the spark and the fire.
Yeah, and sometimes, if that's gone, that may be a reason to retire. It may not even just be, I can't do it anymore. It's, I'm not into it anymore. I am hoping for Shohozan's case that this is just him not having the training, just being out of it. And maybe once he gets the threatened, I'm almost going to go to Juryo, that's when he'll sort of snap back in. Right.
Because he'll be, if he doesn't go down, he'll be right on the edge. He's been there before, so this isn't completely out of character.
No.
It's just it was such a non-Shohozan appearance that I'm gonna give him the Ono show hand wave.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's hope for your sake, Shohozan, that we get to see a lot more of you just slapping people around.
Yeah, because he's a bruiser. You watch a fight with him, and it's like watching a fist fight. It's like you can't throw a fist, but you're practically doing that with your slaps.
Megashira 13, Takayasu. Another.
Oh.
This, I think, was probably the biggest sigh of relief for me. Because seeing Takayasu tumble like this was so hard.
So hard.
And so I was like, no, I don't want to see you die like this.
No. But
he had his stuff back. Whatever back issues, I'm pretty sure those 4 months helped him just as much as it helped Tochinoshin. They both got 10-5, so this rest must have just been the tonic.
Well, yeah, they have no rest, like the whole year. There's just no rest at all. So to have this unprecedented 4 months off, was it 4 months?
Yeah, because it was in March.
It shows you a lot, and I would hope that maybe it will teach some people what maybe the right way to handle injuries is in sumo. It's a little rough. I don't know the answer because it is a dog-eat-dog world. If you make exceptions for some people to heal, then there will be these hard workers that don't get to come up because you made an exception for somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's not exactly fair either. However, there's just no rest for the weary. If you get injured and it's a serious injury, you either fight through the pain and hope you don't wreck your body for the rest of your life, or you just drop out, So, I don't know. Takayasu, hope you
come back.
Hope you come back. It's going to be a long road. I doubt he'll ever get to Ozeki again, but who knows?
If he gets to Kamasubi again, I'll be like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like with Tochinoshin, I think it's just whatever we can get out of him at this point.
Right, savor the moment.
Savor the moment. With Takayasu, there could be a spark in there.
Yeah.
Because he was tasting it.
Yeah.
And then he just sort of fell apart, and it was the injury, and maybe if he gets it back together, he'll be able to hold it on. I'm still holding out hope for Takayasu to get that trophy.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if these guys can get it at the very end of the,
Yeah.
Why can't he?
Why can't he?
Come on, Takayasu. Even if you never become Ozeki again, win that title.
I'm believing in him.
Yes.
Prayer into the universe for Takayasu. Kotonowaka, Megashira 13 West.
Speaking of injuries.
It's hard to watch this.
I don't know why he felt he needed to come back. We're not privy to that sort of thing, but it did not turn out to be a good idea.
No.
4-11, injured himself, early on, and hopefully he didn't do anything permanent. Hopefully it's just, okay, I took a risk and I didn't win anymore.
Yeah.
But hopefully he didn't hurt himself anymore.
This goes to what you were talking about, the dog eat with dog. I mean, Taka Keisho did this back when he was trying to save his Ozeki rank, that he made the ill-advised decision to come back when he was in no position to. And, when I was watching those last 2 fights with Kota Nowaka, like, that knee was bad.
Yeah.
Like, anytime he put any pressure on it, he had to change his stance. I'm like, dude, get in a hospital bed, please.
Yeah, like, don't do this, man.
He was watching him in March. He was fire. He was on the way up. Now he's going to be down in Juryo again, which is the whole reason he came back. It would have been a different tune if he had pulled those 2 wins off.
Yeah.
Certainly, then it would have been 6-9, and that would have been a little different. Maybe it would have saved him. Maybe it wouldn't have. I hope he heals up. And I just know we'll see him again.
Yeah.
Because he is too good to stay in Juryo.
Yeah, it just, don't have a catastrophic Tomokaze incident.
No. We'll see. He'll be back. Tomokaze. Terunofuji can come back. Ryuden can come back. We've got to just stay strong.
It's hard, man.
We got to stay strong.
Oh, no.
Staying strong. Also, Koto Shogiku did not fade away into the darkness.
I was worried about him being a retirement after the last tournament, but he's got some records he's still chasing.
Yeah.
Most wins in the upper division. He's going for Taiho next. Sounds like he needs at least 3 more good tournaments to pull that off. He doesn't look like he's ready to retire, but you don't know what's in people's heads.
You can never tell.
You think, oh, this guy, he's going, then I'm done. Like Goedo. Goedo shocked me. I wasn't expecting that. But, everybody's got their own plan of what their career is going to do. From what I can tell with Koto Shogiku, he wants to keep going until he can't. Yeah. So I hope he gets those records. It was good to see him have a winning score. I think it's been a year since he got his Kachikoshi. So
yeah, that was a surprising number to hear.
Yeah, I was surprised he hung on so long.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of his losing records were like
7-8,
7-8, 6-9. So I mean, he didn't fall that badly, and sometimes he'd have the benefit of a lot of people doing worse. And
yeah,
hey, he's fun to watch. He'll belly bump the best of them out of there.
He's that former Ozeki guy who's got the skill, and it's fun to see sort of the past with him. You
Old guard.
Yeah, you get to see like what times were when he was an Ozeki,
All right. Megashiro 14 West. Wakataka Kage.
Best name in the whole
Gotta say it slow until I'm good at it. He is great to see. He's strong. He's lean. He's hungry.
He was doing so well in that one tournament, and then he got injured.
He turned his ankle, went down to Dreary. Now he's coming back, and that momentum's still there.
I'm glad that he's picked up where he's left off.
Yes.
We got somebody new to root for, somebody who might be seeing the days of Wakataka Kage and Kiribayama.
It'd be good.
Having a rivalry, it would be really awesome.
I am very excited to see Wakataka Kage and all 6 of his syllables do well.
Oh,
because he's that rising star. Now that we're in the bottom, we're seeing these people that are just like, they're just coming up. This is where Takakeisho was a little while ago. This is where all these people that were just like, who's this new guy from Juryo? Got to read up on this guy. He's beating everybody. Mm-hmm. So Wakataka Kage, the next person to watch, 10-5, very good. Only going to get better, I feel, for this rising star. Another rising star in Megashira 15 East, Koto Shoho. He almost lost it at the end.
Yeah.
With the 8-7. I didn't realize it was 8-7 because
he was doing so good, and then
then it fell apart on him. But he's, I mean, a lot of that is just, this is his first time. I mean, for a lot, just to get Kachikoshi in the upper ranks, first time in, that's a good sign.
And a lot of guys who are going to come in, be Magashira 16, 17, get it handed to them and right back down to Juryo. And, if you can avoid that, then you're already on the up and up.
Already on the up and up. So, two people with bright futures. The next face of sumo. Can't help but imagine that at this time, in 2 years or so, they're going to be fist fighting each other for Kamusubi ranks. And it's just going to be great. Yes!
So much new blood.
Much new blood. Megashira 15 West Chiyomaru, not new blood, and not going to be in Megashira that much longer.
No, and he just had a Juryo stint. I don't know where he's at career-wise. I actually don't know how old he is, but...
He's been around a while.
He's been around a while.
He could just be on the decline. He's always fun to watch.
He's a character guy, you know?
He is the roundest.
The roundest bowling ball.
When
him and Chio Tairu, you know, stand next to each other. I think are they in the same stable? Maybe.
Well, they both got the Chio.
The Chio. I think they might be in the same stable. You know, he seems like a real fun guy. Like his matches.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll see him again.
Yeah. Gotta spend some time down in Juryo.
Yeah, gotta go in timeout for a bit. Maybe he'll be back. I hope he'll be back. I would like to see him again.
I'd like to see him again. I like him.
Yeah. Megashira 16. Nishikigi.
He's going to Juryo.
Oh, what happened to you? He was foiling tournaments in the last year, and now he's just... I guess the injuries got him.
Could be the injuries. Could be a little bit of the Kagayaki syndrome, where he's got something in there, but it doesn't translate.
I don't know. Every one of the stars align. Nishikigi's got it. I just got to figure out where those stars are and show them where they are so they can keep winning again.
Exactly. We'll see what a Juryo stint does for him.
Yeah, maybe it's too young to call it quits, I think.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be back. Maybe he'll be a little longer in Juryo if he can't get it all the way together, but I think this is not the end for Nishikigi. And I'd like to see him back with that fire he had earlier on when he was throwing Takayumi around.
I like when Takayumi gets thrown around.
Megashira 16 West Koto Eiko.
I love Koto Eiko.
He was tumbling. I was concerned. He was the new guy. He came in. He was back in jury and he was back again. He sort of had the stage fright at first, and he got bulky.
He did. I'm like, what has he been doing?
I know what he's been doing the last 4 months.
Wow, I couldn't believe how much muscular he looked.
He was using it.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
So, I mean, I guess that's one way to do it if you can't train with other people. Like, bulk up on the weights. Bulk up.
If this is going to be the new Koto Eiko.
I mean, it's almost like a Chio no Fuji body, you know? I'm looking at him like, are you a bodybuilder or a sumo wrestler?
When you see the portraits, when they first go in, it's just the portraits of the people. They haven't changed the picture. The poor guy still got that DMV face. And then, like, he starts fighting him, did he just, throw that guy? What just happened? Koto Eiko, you're strong, because there was this crop of these really smaller sumo guys that were coming up, and he was one of them.
Yeah.
And then he just put on 10, 15 pounds of just biceps.
Yeah.
And now he's chucking people, and it's
awesome.
This whole lower part of Megashira is just full of prospects, and I can't wait to see what they do.
I want to see years and years of excellent battles and trading ranks and, all the storylines.
So good. So good. Oh, speaking of so good, yeah, that's right. Megashira 17 is where a certain Teruno Fuji is, this new guy from Juryo.
I've never heard of this guy,
Oh my gosh, I got into sumo when he just got injured. So I saw him briefly as an Ozeki. And then he completely fell off my radar because back in the day I didn't know my Tachiai from Holding Ground. And now I barely do. But his just show of force and dominance, and he had his way with everybody. And then the people who fought back, he's just like, don't you know who I am? The king is back.
Yeah, there was no lack of, if there was no showing of lack of confidence. There was no showing of ring rust. You would think he was still Ozeki by the way he fought.
He had the nerves with Shodai.
Yeah.
But then it was Takayumi who was as hungry as possible.
Who could have sealed his opportunity for the playoff, and he beat him, and that's all I need to know.
Him soundly, just picked him up and said, "You are not in this dohyo while I'm here."
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be great to see him. If he just, he'll be Ozeki in a year at this rate.
Yeah, you got to see if those knees will hold up. It's interesting. I had been hearing him. I started watching sumo after he was out of the picture. I had been hearing about him though. rising up and former Ozeki, and I remember thinking, like, is this like an old guy who, you know, like a 35-year-old guy who just refuses to quit? I had no idea. I'm like, this, because you don't hear about this.
You don't hear.
When you lose Ozeki, if you're out of Juryo, you're done. Like, nobody
pays attention to you anymore.
You're gonna retire. You're just not gonna stick around. I mean, I don't even know many Ozeki who would go to Juryo without retiring. So to hear about this guy and being relatively new to sumo, I'm like, you know, what's going on with him? And I kept hearing about him coming up. So then I paid attention to him in Juryo last tournament, and I'm like, he's only 28? Oh, wait a minute. I need to know more. And then I could see the hunger, and I'm like, when this tournament started, I thought to myself, Terunofuji could win this. And the only reason I thought that was because of Tokushoryu. I'm like, here's a guy who's way more talented than Tokushoryu, who's been gutting it out for 5 years to come back. And all the big top guys are falling away. He's got an excellent shot of winning this. I wasn't sure. I think he could have beaten Hakuho. I would have loved to have seen it.
That would have been a great...
That was so disappointing that we didn't get to see that. But I think he could have done it.
You can tell that Terunofuji and Hakuho are on a collision course.
Yes.
Going forward. It's like, at this point, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And you just know Hakuho is not going to let this stand.
No, Hakuho's got to, you know, put his foot down and be the greatest and, you know, put everybody down here because he's on top. And, yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see that matchup. But I didn't know that Terunofuji asked to quit 5 times, you know, and his stable master wouldn't let him do it. And, I mean, what a story.
But it's such a good, it's that feel-good story. It's all these different variants on the underdog coming up have all been in sumo lately. It's just this crazy fun.
That's the beautiful thing. I mean, it's hard to watch Hakuho leave. Whether you like him or not, it's not the same without him.
It's not.
You really got to have that either hero for some or villain for others. Some people can't stand Hakuho and they can't wait to see people beat him. And some people think he's the greatest ever and they want to see him win every tournament ever. He's so great for that it's hard as you're watching these tournaments and he's dropping out and you're picturing post-Hakuho world. With that being said, with him out of the picture, you can have these Cinderella stories. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have these 5 years ago when Hakuho was, winning everything. I mean, don't we all want to have these stories?
It's fun to have them, and
the hard work pays off, you know. And Takayasu said in one of his interviews that it was very inspiring to him to see Terunofuji come up from Jonidan and win on his first time back to the upper division.
Seeing stuff like this, these new up-and-comers, these sort of the phoenixes rising from the ashes. This time last year, I was getting worried because there was going to be this vacuum at the top. Because that's when Kakuryu and Hakuho were both starting to fall around.
And Takakeisho was the only Ozeki.
Takakeisho was it, and then he started getting injured. Kiseno Sato was a whisper. The Ozeki were just hobbled together, just like, there's going to be this vacuum.
What is this going to look like?
And, now we know what it's going to look like. Sumo's on the back. It's rebounded itself. Nature has healed. And we have Terunofuji to thank for it.
Yeah, I sincerely hope he gets his knees in order, and he could definitely be Ozeki again. If you didn't know he was Maegashira 17, you would think he was an Ozeki by the way he was tossing people around. I want to see more. I wish I had seen him the first go around, but I want to see more. I want to see more tournaments from him.
All I know is I got to stay out of his way because he is going one direction.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what is in between him and that goal. He will run right over it. It's so good.
It is.
Sumo!
Yes.
So
congratulations to him.
Sorry, Coach Oyuki, for being the last person we're talking about.
Mr. Claw Hands.
Mr. Claw Hands is going to be in Juryo, got injured out, and did make a good show of it up until he got injured and fell out, but he's always fun. He's sporadic. I just hope that his injuries don't spell doom. I would like to see him back from Jurio. I don't know if he's got it in him. We will have to see.
Yeah, he's on my list of possible retirements.
Possibly. We'll see. With Kotoyuki, he's been dipping his toe in the water. He made a run for it a little while back, but then he just got knocked back down.
I have to say, fighting him must be very difficult because he's always got his hands taped like a claw. Now it's like basically like a knife in the face or in the throat. So some guys are probably going to be happy they don't have to fight him anymore.
Maybe.
Couple of notes from the lower divisions. Jurio Meisei won in a 3-way playoff against one of his opponents was Hoshoryu, who's the next great hope. Meisei is in that Kotoeko Terutsuyoshi group, the smaller man sumo, but with a little bit of bulk. I'm looking forward to him coming back up. Very, very forward to him coming back up. I want to see him. I think he could rise. He was almost with the Tomokazes too. He had potential to really threaten and to get into Sanyaku and really make a mess. He's probably going to have to start all over a little bit. But I'm glad he's coming back with that championship win. I heard that Hoshoryu might get enough to come in. I'm not sure. I'm sure everybody knows, but if they don't, he's Asashoryu's nephew. People are very excited to see him. He's got quite a legacy to carry on his shoulders. And Ichi no Jo, if he might come back, he might not. It looked to me watching his matches that he might have lost a little bit of weight and he looked like his back was doing a little bit better. So I'm hoping that he's on the mend because he's a character guy. And let's not forget, he had a chance at the tournament. But he never even got to face Hakuho.
Nope.
And that was a shame because boy, wouldn't it have been nice for Ichinojo to get a chance. But we'll see. You know, it'd be nice to see if some of these guys come back. And finally, a guy that I really like, who's been gone for quite a long time, Chiyo no Kuni, won the Makushita tournament. You know, he won the top prize, so he's going to be back in Jurio. I think it's been a couple of years.
Been a while.
He first got injured by Tamawashi with that Totori, but then I guess he got a knee injury after that and required surgery. So he's one of those guys, another story where he's been coming up, trying to come back. I hope he's hungry. I hope he does well in Jurio. I'd love to see him back. He seemed like somebody who was definitely headed for Sanyaku when everything went wrong. So you got all these variables. It really is hard to predict what next year will even look like.
Impossible.
Absolutely impossible.
Impossible.
And meanwhile, Sanyaku might just 12 wins, and Maegashira 17 might just keep winning the tournament. Hey, you know, if that's the new trend.
New trend. Hey, that means that our friend Meisei may be looking at a new tournament next time.
You know what? Meisei, I'm calling it now. Meisei is the next.
Meisei U show for September.
Yeah.
All these people coming in from Jurio, they're just spitting hot fire.
I will say this. Let's take 1 second to make predictions of who could possibly be in it at the end for September.
It'll be, well, at this point,
who do you think's realistically gonna be in that contention there at the end?
I'm just gonna auto pick Terunofuji like a coat chasing scrub. Be like, he won the last one, he'll win the next one. I would be surprised if we see both Yokozunas.
They're probably both going to be out, realistically.
I think Asanayama now has something to prove. And now it's going to be doubly tough for him because now everyone's going to be keeping an eye on him.
Yep, and the matches are only going to get tougher.
They're only going to get tougher. I mean, I'm always voting for my man Hokutofuji, but I don't think he needs to get a little bit of edge off of that Wild, and then he'll be good to go. I wouldn't mind it if this becomes Daisho's time.
It would be great, wouldn't it?
It would be something else. I think that next tournament is going to be the tournament of the Sanyaku.
Yeah.
And that everybody's going to sort of start going in, looking at those 4, and keeping an eye on Asanayama. Takakeisha is going to be...
We'll be lucky if he's even in.
Yeah, I can see him. I can see him floundering and then getting Kataban again if he doesn't have his things together.
I mean, he's already pulled that risky move of, pulling out of a tournament while he was Kataban, guessing that he would get the 10 wins at Seki. Ozekiwake. And pulling it off. So he's capable of pulling out for 2 tournaments. It's really going to depend on that knee. I don't think there's enough time between now and September.
Too soon.
Yeah. It says 4 weeks of treatment in that article, but that's... I don't know. I think he's going to be out. I think Hakuho's out. Kakaryu's out. I think we're... If I had a perfect scenario, Daisho is the one who wins. He's my guy. I think Asanoyama has a very good chance of winning next time. As much as I'm kind of down on his mental processes, I think maybe that loss was enough. That there's going to be enough momentum and that he's going to be challenging for the title. The question is which Mitakayumi will show up, which Shodai will show up. Is he going to be going against them, or are we going to be looking at like a Meisei? Or are we going to be looking at who's my dark horse in this?
I'm scrolling through.
I don't think it'll be Abi.
No. Seeing Enho on a revival, that would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think Enho is going to need to regroup.
Yeah.
Adapt to the new... I mean, this has sort of been Enho's MO, is that it's been like a sort of this tactical arms race.
Yeah. That
he'll get better, and he'll just make a climb, and everybody else will get better, or something's going to happen to sort of throw him off kilt.
I think we might see like a Kiribayama or
maybe.
A Wakataka Kage, at least up in the 10-win department.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I don't see how Asanoyama isn't a contender. Yeah,
it's gonna be up to the upper crust this time to set the pace, because in this tournament it was just a wild card. Nobody knew how anything was gonna be.
No.
But now we're sort of seeing the cards on the table.
Who's doing what? Who's in what shape? So.
And with the September Basho only a month away, it's sort of a lot of what happens here is going to keep going. And well, for Onosho's sake,
it's going to be Onosho.
Onosho, that's it.
Onosho's winning.
Onosho, you show done.
Perfect.
We
Our
got
next
this.
Cinderella story.
Ready to go. This was all just smoke and mirrors
for Onosho's rise to the top.
We got this. All right, that sounds like we can wrap it up.
Alrighty. Well, John, it was a pleasure.
As always.
Looking forward to all the different information that might come out, and looking forward to a shortened time for the next tournament.
Yeah. See you next Basho.
Peace.